Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to our today's webinar. I'm Arthur Kane and I'll be your host for today. And the topic is Flowmon ADS 11 news. And who is the better person to actually talk about these news than product owner of Flowmon ADS, Martin Chikura. Hi, Martin.
Hi, Arthur. Hi, guys.
Welcome. Before we start, a couple of operational notes, if you will. The session will be recorded and you will receive a link to our YouTube channel where the recording will be stored in a couple of days after the session. Please do send us your questions. We will try to answer them all, either by responding in the chat or verbally during the presentation. The presentation will consist of 3 parts. We will explain what Flowmon ADS actually is and what it does for those of you who are not familiar with it. It'll be just a short introduction. Then we will continue to showing you in theory what are the news in Flowmon ADS 11, a great new exciting major version that was launched in August. And then Martin will jump into live demo and actually demonstrate all the news in our lab environment. So without further ado, I think it's time. I can see most of you have already arrived, so let's get into it. I'll share my screen and wait a couple of seconds for it to show up on your displays. And I think we're ready to go. So Flowmon ADS is our cybersecurity detection engine and software for analysis of network traffic from the perspective of security. What it does, it automates detection and it places, it helps you to save the time on actually figuring out root causes, impacts of different types of incidents in your environment. We provide insight that is as accurate as possible. And what you will see in the ADS 11, we strive to provide as little information as possible so that you're not overwhelmed with unnecessary noise. Flowmon is effective for zero-day threats because we do not rely on signatures, but we're using machine learning that is capable of finding indicators of compromise rather than described and known attacks. And we help you to reduce incident response time by providing you context of the incident so that you can make fast decisions and carry out remedial actions as soon as possible without a major breach. Our detection engine is not based on statistical methods, as you can see on the picture on the left side of my screen. We are not looking for spikes and substantial changes in network profile. Well, we do for some more simple methods, but those that help to discover unknown threats are much more mature. They are considering every individual network communication, and they are looking for very small deviations in the behavior of devices and users. We use a combination of detection techniques that is applied on a variety of data. Why variety of data and variety of data sources? We are trying to balance between depth of data, which necessarily and inherently means we need more computing power and storage, and scalability. That means having lower information detail, but being able to store data for a longer time and having historical view as well as present and future. And that's why we combine the best of breed data sources from property-enriched network telemetry that we gain through our sensors called probes that we tap into the network and extract interesting information from network traffic. We're also capable of collecting NetFlow IPFix data from compatible devices that may include both hardware infrastructure appliances such as switches or routers, or even firewalls. But that also includes cloud platform telemetry data such as VPC flow logs. We also collect raw packet data that we use for a few detection methods to see a higher level of detail. User identity to be able to connect IP address with some specific user. We complement our data set with IDS signatures, not necessarily to use them as primary detection capability, but to provide deeper level of detail and an understanding of the specifics of the detected attack when the signature is available. And we also have built-in threat intelligence in form of blacklists. All this data is then sent into detection engine, where we use machine learning, adaptive baselining that learns the curve of normal behavior in traffic and looks for deviations, heuristics or mathematical models, if you will, behavior patterns, which is an inbuilt understanding of the proper and legitimate protocol use, looking for deviations in this prescribed use of protocols, and reputation feeds. And this all results in threats and detection, anomaly detection and alerting. The most common use cases are, as mentioned, unknown threat detection, looking for attacks that don't have signature available yet, understanding the threats, and also enforcing policies within encrypted traffic, detection of threats that are not coming from the outer world through our perimeter, but rather come from within and from maybe user stations or laptops. Very common use case is ransomware and in general malware response, as well as cloud security, because all of our capabilities are available in all hardware, virtual, and cloud environments. We see a great trend of layering security technologies. Enterprises who have experts in-house, who have capabilities and have budgets to look out for new emerging technologies, have been using network detection and response tools such as Flowmon for years to complement their traditional security approaches. And we're happy to sort of democratize and commoditize the market by providing these technologies in scalable, much more easy, simpler way to use and deploy and integrate into networks, so that even smaller companies can benefit from them. And their main benefit actually lies in covering the gap left by traditional approaches. As you can see, we have a MITRE ATT&CK framework that shows us a life cycle of security breach or security incident. And on that matrix, we show where traditional technologies are specialized and contribute in detecting and responding to. As you can see, network, which is our area of expertise, actually looks at indicators of compromise across their whole life cycle and helps understanding the current state of a breach and helps to respond to them. So it is a great way to complement your traditional security. And that was for the start to introduce Flowmon ADS. And now let's have a look at the new major release, Flowmon ADS 11, that was launched this August. And Martina, the word is yours. I'll be controlling the presentation. If I'm not keeping up with your pace, just tell me and I'll switch to the next slide.
Okay, thanks. All right, so ADS 11. Major change in this new version is new and robust stream architecture. And thanks to this architecture and thanks to the stream processing of the flow data, we are able to achieve much higher performance. So we are now able to consume and process much more flows per second. We will see some this comparison later. Another key improvement in this version is centralization of dashboards and reports. So this will improve your user experience as the dashboards and reports are now just in one place. You will not need to go to different modules if you want to see some widgets from networks or operational or some security related widgets, and this applies to reports. So everything is in the one place in the dashboards and reports module. Another thing we are focusing continuously is improving of detection methods. So almost every detection method had to be rewritten to the new stream architecture. While doing this, we improved the detections, and some examples can be web share or team behavior detection methods, which are significantly improved comparing to previous version. We also work on situational awareness. So to mention that we are now able to provide you with less detected events, so you are not overwhelmed. And we also provide deeper detail in each detected event. So let's look on the stream architecture. As I mentioned, this is the major thing in this version. It's mostly under the hood, but the benefits you can experience immediately. So let's have an example. Here we have an attack which is let's say over 20 minutes long. And if we take the old ADS version 10, where we process the flow data in batches, 5-minute batches. For such attack, we would detect up to 5 events for each batch, basically. So there is just one attack, but we detect it as an event multiple times. But in the stream architecture, in the ADS 11, we are now processing the events differently. So now we detect the start of the attack. And as the attack continues, we update the event with the new information. And once the attack ends, also the event ends. So comparing batch processing and stream processing, ADS 10 and ADS 11, in this case, you have 5 versus just 1 event detected. And thanks to this change, you will not be overwhelmed with the high count of the detected events.
And let's maybe just pause here for a little bit and talk about the implications of this change, because the one you mentioned is lower number of incidents. In this case, we see a timeline of an attack with some 5-minute sort of full stops, and there was an event for each of those 5 minutes. Now we only have one event with some 3 statuses, right? So we have lower number of oral events. Now, when you log these events into SIEM systems, log management, that also means you need lower licenses, right? Or processing power.
Exactly.
But also, very important thing is that instead of really alerting on event 5 minutes after it starts, we can be much faster, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we are not. So the detection speed is also very faster. In the previous version, we were able to detect the event up to 5 minutes after it started. It's based when it occurred. But in the stream architecture, it's almost immediately. So also the alerting and the time to respond is significantly lower.
We haven't discussed this before, so I'm hoping that I'm not forcing you somewhere that where you don't want to go. But can you disclose the time that we can expect, the ADS to actually do the detection after the start of the attack?
Well, it's based also on how you export the flow data. There are some timeouts on the flow exporters, so this brings some delay. If you use the ADS and you want to really quickly respond to the attacks, you can lower the timeouts, which are by default, or it is like standard that they are 30 seconds or 5 minutes. You can lower that. And after that, we process the flows as they come to the collector. So it's like just seconds, just a little time for us to process it. So it's really fast.
Excellent, thank you. And we have one question. ADS now will be working only with probe?
No. This is what Artem mentioned previously, that we use different type of data, and we also use different sources of flow data. So we can work with switches, routers, firewalls, basically any equipment which can export NetFlow, IPFix, or other compatible flow data. There is multiple standards which are supported. For example, NetStream from Huawei, S-Flow also, but it's sampled, so some detection might be affected. But basically, any flow from reasonable source of flow data is okay. And if you use probes, it brings other benefits because we also enrich the flow data with some application layer visibility, and we add this to the detection methods. So it will be better if you have the probes, but most of the detections works even without our probes.
Excellent, thank you very much. So let's carry on.
All right, so in this new version, you will also see, and I will demonstrate it, the changes in the event visualization. So now, as the event starts, continues, and ends, you will be able to see this visualized on the chart, and also if you drill down into the deeper levels while you are investigating what happened, you will also see in the timeline the span of the attack and of the event, basically. So it's much easier for you to understand when the attack occurred. Another thing, situational awareness. This is something which we improved in this version and are planning to improve in following versions. We started with better description of what was actually detected. So for the users which might not have a lot of experience, it will be now clear what happened. And we do it by providing information about the detection method subtypes. There is like 40 plus detection methods, and each has one or more subtypes. So there's like 150 subtypes. And for each subtype, we have a description of what actually it means and what was detected. So besides the traditional event details, for example, in a dictionary attack, how many attempts, if it was successful or unsuccessful, how many targets, and etc. You will be also provided with information what the dictionary attack means actually.
I very strongly recommend you to watch a recording of a Flowmon Packet Investigator webinar, also available on our website, where we took this situational awareness to a great extent, where not only we provide explanation of what happened, but also provide suggestions on remedial actions. But I believe you have that on the roadmap already.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, let me give you the presenter rights so that you can show us the user interface. Okay, make presenter. There you go. We're waiting for your screen.
All right, so I believe now you can see it. So this is the, sorry, I will just, all right, we are good now. So this is the ADS 11, the way how you can tell on the first glance is that this is not dashboard anymore, this is analysis. This is the change due the move of widgets and reports to the dashboards and reports to the central dashboarding and reporting tool. So now we have just this analysis window here. I will close this. And I want to show briefly some changes I was talking about. So here we have a chart of events, and from this chart I can immediately see that I have here some orange line, and actually this is a SSH dictionary attacks I can see here, and this is exactly what the stream architecture did. You can see, if I click on it, it's highlighted now, that the attack started before the noon and ended in the morning on the next day. So, and it's detected as just one event. So this is the change. If we are talking about the ADS 10, you would get multiple events for each patch where the criteria for the event detection are met. And in this case, sorry, in this case, we get just one event which started, was continuously updated and ended. So that means that there will be lower overall count of detected events, and you will not be overwhelmed with a high number of detected events. If you look on this event and look on the event detail, you can see here the new description of the attack. So this is the subtype of the SSH dictionary attack with the description of what happened, what it means. And as Arthur mentioned, we will be taking this to another level. If you saw the FPI webinar or you have the product, you know that there are suggestions. So not only that we provide the information what went wrong, we also provide the information what to do with it. And in the ADS, this will be added. So in the following versions, there will be also a description of the suggestion, which will provide you some hints on remedial actions, so you can better act on it. Beside that, there are some new attributes tab. So with all the attributes for the event, this information can be obtained, for example, via API. And I just want to show what Arthur mentioned, that we use multiple data sources. One of them, the core is flow data. So for each detected event, I can see the event evidence. And the event evidence is basically the list of all the flows which correspond to the detected event. And as I mentioned, it can be flows from either switches, routers, firewalls, or any other device, or it can be Flowmon probe with enriched telemetry. This took a while because there is a lot of flows, because the SSH dictionary a lot of times is a lot of if there is a lot of attempts, there is a lot of flows, and basically in the event evidence you can go through the flows. In this case, it doesn't make much sense, but there are some events which might be interesting for you flow-wise. Another thing related to IDS events, as Arthur mentioned, we use this also like complementary data. So it's not based on this signature-based detections, but we provide it to provide another context. And this is the list of traffic records which were made based on the attack detection. So if you want to do some forensic analysis, want to look into the packets when the flows are not enough, you can just record or set the recording based on the event detection, and then here you will be able to download the PCAPs and analyze it afterward.
There's actually one new button. Can you click on it? The doc window.
Yeah.
I just noticed.
These are, yeah. So if you are investigating through multiple events and you just want to save some, you dock it into the window, and you can then simply click here do some investigation, some filtering, find some other events for that specific IP address. It can be some attacker, for example, and then you dock the events to have it closed.
Very nice. And one more thing that actually intrigued me, and sorry for my ignorance, maybe I just missed it, but if you go back to the analysis, there were the sort of trending charts.
Yeah. I forgot to mention that we added them in version 10, but they are great. So what they do, so we here see the number of detected events for each detection method, and we also see the arrow. It goes either up or down, which show us the trend. And the trend basically it compares the current time interval with the previous time interval of the same length, and it provides you some information about if the events are detected more or less. And on the sparkline, you also see some visualization when the events were detected and how long they lasted.
There's definitely a change from presenting a list of detected events and showing chart with amounts of traffic into amounts of events, and then the sort of cascading drill down to learn more and more and more about the incident. So more of an analytical workflow here.
Yeah,
kudos to that. Okay.
All right. This is all from my side for now. This was the brief presentation of the new features and stream architecture and what it represents in the product.
Great. I'm taking over the presenter rights and showing my screen. Excellent. Now, okay, let's go into more sort of practical information and changes. Not that your information wasn't practical, but these are actually the implications for those of you who are already using ADS. Let's have a look into specifications and what has changed. First, performance. These are the specs of ADS until version 10. You see that we have versions from light to ultimate. Each had different number of flows per second supported by the license, and some number of computing instances or computing units. This has changed tremendously. Users with licenses from business higher can see a definite hike in the performance. Let me actually go back and forth a little bit. So with business, it's from 2,000 to 5,000 flows per second. With the ultimate, it's from 5,000 to 100,000 flows per second. And let me just mention that this is per one ADS instance, right? We have distributed architecture. If you need more, there could be more ADSs that work jointly. Now, can you, Martin, explain what is the new item behavior patterns processing?
Yeah. So behavior patterns, this is one detection method which detects emerging threats. This is basically a description of some malicious behavior on the network, and
those could be the customer methods.
It can be also customer methods. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be but some custom using some SQL-like syntax, or ours. We continuously search for new threats, describe how they behave, and then these patterns are sent to our customers who have support service. And this one detection method is still using, let's say, the old ways. It's not re-implemented into the stream architecture. This will be done in the next year. But for now, for this detection method, the performance is basically the same as in previous version.
Right. And as for the data feeds, actually a data source. You can use multiple of them to help you to sort of differentiate or segment the data that you're getting. So for instance, one probe can be one data feed, and that probe, and if you have that probe, at some data center, you can define data from the data center apart from other.
Yeah, it's not exactly how many flow sources you have, that many data feeds you need, but it can be it's basically used for like segmenting or to get the data from some segments of the network and have some different kind of detections over that part of the network, for example. Yeah.
Excellent. So this was the performance part, and an increase that every customer with Flowmon ADS gets, well, for free. Just upgrade to ADS 11.
Yes.
Now, other features apart from performance, we were looking at what kind of external information you could use, reputation databases. We will also separating users of different models by the number of detection methods that we enabled in different versions. So with version light, you had a limited number of detection methods, and if you wanted to go for a full feature and have all the detection capabilities, you had to upgrade to version business and higher. And a very significant feature differentiation was also capability of reporting by syslog, which meant possibility of integrating Flowmon ADS with SIEM systems or log management tools and other third-party systems. We've now simplified the specification, so external information remains the same. For the detections, every customer has access to the same number of detection methods. There are no differences. So even those of you who are using light or standard have full feature Flowmon from now on. Again, just upgrade to Flowmon ADS 11. And that applies to IDS signature or IDS-based signatures as well, and support of syslog SIEM system. So feel free to integrate and forward data from ADS to your other security platforms. For those of you who don't have ADS just yet, we have a limited offer. You can get 3 months of trial. There are 2 options. One, go through our website and request a trial. For those of you who are our customers and have access to the portal, you can use the license request form. And obviously, you can liaise with your channel partner or salesperson to get the license for 3 months. You can read more about the release on our blog. It's available on the website www.flowmon.com, resources blog, and there's more detail about all the new features in ADS 11. And now the word is yours again, Martin, to explain us what are our plans for the future development of ADS.
All right, so the next coming version is Flowmon ADS 11.1. This will be ready in Q3 in beta, and the major things there are the proxy correlation. If you are our customers, you probably know that there is proxy correlation in ADS 10. However, we need to re-implement it for the stream architecture, so this is the reason why it's there. Another thing is false positive improvements, also based kind of on the stream architecture. We want to improve how it behaves to be more intuitive, how the false positive rules are matched or how they are counted in statistics. And the third thing is interactive event visualization. You probably also know that it's in the product, but it's using Flash, which is quite an old technology, and we need to implement it into the JavaScript. So this is something which will be available in the Q3, and this would be stable within this year. By the end of this year, this will be in stable version. And then 11.1, the version where we will be focusing on extending the threat intelligence. So you can look forward to using MISP feeds for sharing indicators of compromise and use it as for the detection via the blacklist method, or also the JA3 fingerprints, which can be used for detecting the threats in the encrypted traffic. Another thing we want to focus on is the situational awareness. So in this version, we will be focusing on mapping of detection methods to MITRE ATT&CK metrics. So this metrics describes some techniques of the attackers and cycle of the attack, and we will be using these metrics to describe to map it on our detection methods and provide some information about some correlated information or some connections between these metrics and these techniques and our detection methods. Next year, we will be focusing on the suggestions, as I mentioned already. So in the even detail, we will provide information how to remedy what are the remedial actions for that event, what to do if I get this event. And next on the menu is tenant-based multi-tenancy. So this is something which was brought by Flowmon 11. It's a very granular way to set up the multi-tenancy and set the tenants, tenant admins, tenant users, etc. So this will be supported by the ADS. And the last thing is the BIP patterns for the stream architecture. As I mentioned previously, these are still using the old ways, not implemented into the stream. So to achieve much higher performance, we need to re-implement it into the stream architecture.
And on that, we actually had another question for the behavior patterns. To explain wider what these are, I would strongly suggest you to check our book for behavior patterns. There's a great short article that explains what these are. And we didn't want to scare you. The only reason why the specification now includes the behavior patterns is really just, as Martin mentioned, because the patterns haven't been implemented in the stream architecture, but that will be improved, as you can see in future versions, and we're expecting B patterns to have the same performance as the rest of the methods. Thank you for the questions. I managed to respond to some of them on the chat, but one here is whether ADS upgrade from 10 to 11 is safe and supported yet.
Yes, it is safe because the 11 version is already unstable. So it's okay. There might be there are some checks in the update process. So for example, if you are using proxy correlation, which is not available in the ADS 11, you will not be able to upgrade to this version just yet. So there are some checks if there are some unsupported configurations, meaning that proxy correlation, it will not be available just yet, but otherwise, I recommend you to upgrade to this version. You will get much higher performance, lower count of the events and other benefits.
Thank you. I have another question. Give me just a second to translate it. So here it is. The question is about method TeamViewer. In ADS 10, oh, I can actually read the chat, right? Can you read the question here? It'll be easier. This one?
Can you zoom in?
I cannot zoom, but you can check it in my screen.
Okay. Yeah, so this is...
can you maybe say the question?
Yeah. So this is the question about the TeamViewer detection method. This was actually extended. So now the TeamViewer detection method detect usage of the client and actually connecting to some other host. And The second part is.
If you feel that the question is not relevant for the whole audience and you want to come back to
maybe I will
the gentleman later.
Yeah, I will get back to it later.
Okay. Is JA3 fingerprinting comparable with IDS? Roughly how many hashes in the database right now? Can we tell?
I'm not sure how many. I didn't see J3 fingerprints feeds and the number of the hashes.
But we'll come back to on that. However, I wouldn't say the J3 fingerprints is comparable with IDS signatures. IDS signatures are really based on someone exploring the incident and looking at the code and seeing what it does, while J3 fingerprints isn't actually looking for malicious code, but rather than malicious application, right?
It's in the this is actually the section which will be available with our probes, because J3 fingerprint is a parameter in a TLS header, and if you don't have this kind of information, you cannot detect the events based on that. And it just describes the application, so it's just some hash of the application, and yeah, this is used by the Flowmon thanks to the visibility into this TLS, and I don't think if the IDSs can also. I don't see any technical issue why IDSs could not have this, because they also see the packet, so they also should see the JF3 fingerprint. So it's, I would say, comparable.
Excellent, thank you for that as well. And I think with that, we came to the end of the questions. That's all. Okay. So thank you very much for spending the time with us today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something new. I definitely have. And for those of you who we were not able to answer your questions, we'll come back to you, or Marty will come back to you after the session. Recording soon available on the YouTube. Feel free to upgrade to ADS 11. It's been stabilized, and we would love to hear your feedback. And stay tuned for next sessions. Do we have next session here? Yes, we do. So let me warmly invite you to the next webinar, where, well, again with Martin. Hello.
Oh, really?
We will talk about integration of Flowmon with Passler PRTG, which is an infrastructure monitoring tool. We will also be joined by Simon Bell, who's the pre-sales engineer from Passler, and registration is open and available on our website. Okay, thank you very much. Take care. Thank you, Martin, for your time.
Thank you, Arthur. Thank you guys for your attention.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.